Okay.
And everyone is out of the waiting room now.
Okay. I just see a new face on the call tonight.
Yes.
So, all right. I'll call to order and then maybe an intro right
Sure.
after that. Okay. All right. I am going to call us to order at 6:01 p.m. this evening. And Casey, would you like to introduce the?
I sure would. So joining us this evening, yes, is Terry Sorrentino, and she is our new accounting supervisor, replacing Joan Reynolds. And I will say Joan has been very gracious and has been coming in to help train. I think the timing has worked out well because being on spring break with the schools closed this week, I think it's given Terry an opportunity to sort of get into the weeds of some things and really learn the system. But it's been a pleasure having her on the team, and I think she's hitting the ground running. So we're thrilled to have her.
Fantastic.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Board of Ed Finance Subcommittee. Okay. Hopping right in. Mark, quick question. Is anybody recording the call this evening? Oh, I'm disappointed, Mark, actually. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started then. Board of Education financial reports to start us off. Casey, please.
Sure, and I'll share my screen here.
Thank you.
So we'll start with the check register report. If there was any questions on those. Erin, I know you had asked for the February invoices for legal. I sent those out. I had to get them redacted, but those you should have those. If you wanted to review those. I don't know if you had any other questions on the check register itself.
I didn't personally see anything that stood out. I mean, was there anything that you would call our attention to, I guess?
I saw a couple things. I mean, but the problem is there a way that we can get this not in Google when you send it to us? Because I can't print it for some reason. So it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Not in Google. It should be as a PDF.
It's not as a PDF, yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, this is the first time I haven't been able to do anything with it. But like with all these ESS, and I know it substitutes, like, can we have a breakdown of what is our building, like what our obligation is with our full-time building subs? Because this line item is just it's so convoluted. So we can't tell the difference what we're paying for a substitute versus what we're paying for permanent substitutes. And I think that is something that we need to know.
Okay.
And that's something that they both come through this ESS Northeast. Just
everything comes through it, yeah. So you can't figure out.
So we have. I'll tell you and actually substitute pay rates are on the agenda for later on, so we can talk about it a little bit more there. But we do have 5 building subs at CLES, permanent building subs at CLES. We have 2 at Wisconsin, and we have 1 at the high school. So our rate, if you want to, and it's just a straight calculation of the number of permanent building subs we have times the rate that we pay ESS times 180 school days this year. And I just did that, but now where did it go? So a little over $225,000 is permanent building subs.
Yeah, so I think like what we need to figure out, right, is that we know that that's a known every month, but we can't tell what the known is. And then what we're paying in addition, like how many teachers are we having out at any given time. So it's just so hard to find. And ESS is like multiple times, right? They're not small amounts.
Weekly. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so it just gets really confusing. And then there was also, I'm going to have to email it to you because like I said, I tried to print it because I really need to look at it, but we had an outplacement. It wasn't an outplacement, but some of these we're seeing multiple times, like Cape Pierce, we're seeing multiple times. And then there was one of our outplacements had 2 different charges for the same month period.
Yep.
So,
the May Institute here?
No, it was not the May Institute because we normally see that twice. I see that's February and March, but no, it was a different one. So I'm going to have to actually try and figure out to print it. It's just really hard to look at it. I'm looking at it on my phone at work and then, trying to figure it out to look at it here. So I'll email you the questions, but there was quite a few. And then as far as seating repair, what equipment were they fixing for that? It looked like gym equipment.
Oh, from Hussey?
Yep.
Yeah, that was, those were safety straps on all of the basketball backdrops. There was, a lot of it was safety straps and related to, it was all safety issues for both gyms at Wisconsin and the high school. So every year, this vendor comes out and does a safety inspection on all the equipment. And these were the recommended items to service this year.
Okay, and then the only other one that I remember off the top of my head is the one all the way at the bottom, which is, it says grant. What is that? Connecticut Association of Public Schools.
Oh, it's just determined. It's a different fund that it's being paid out of. So this is an expense that is probably coming out of our title grant.
What was it for?
Grant fund. What's that?
What was it for?
So that was the conference I had, if you don't mind, Casey.
Yep,
I had
please.
taken our leadership team to a conference back in March to talk about transformative leadership and listen to some experts in that area and really start to kind of think about mind shift and change toward how we might do things differently when we're thinking about improvement planning processes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
And we were able to find funding for that through a grant, so it didn't, impact our operating budget.
No, I saw it as a grant. I just was it just normally isn't. I haven't seen it reported like that. So Casey, I'll just email you when I can sit here and look at it because there was a couple things that I don't know.
Perfect. And I'm sorry if it didn't print well for you. It should have been part of a PDF that had all the reports with it. So I don't know what happened there, but
It did print.
Normally
It did print for me. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to do the same, Erin, and print it out and look at it.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know. I'm a pen and paper kind of person. So,
I just printed it and it printed fine.
Did it? It might be, look, I was trying to print it
Might
at
be
work.
user error.
It could be user error. I was trying to print it from my phone. It wouldn't print. So then my other question too is where are we with the water line at WMS? Because we are paying a ton of money for water delivery.
water testing.
Water testing and then it looks like $1,900 for 5 jugs and copy paper and supplies. I don't know.
Marcia might have an update on that. I know Greg Dembowski with the town has been working on securing the grant through the state for that. So I don't know if you have any update on that, Marcia.
My only update is we have we've put in the application and we're still waiting to hear back. That was as of a week and a half ago.
Okay. Thank you.
So for my own education, what are we talking about? Getting a town water line to the middle school?
Yes. So running it up West Wisconsin Road from Aquarion. That was in our capital budget, I think 2 cycles ago. And it also impacts the town. It impacts all the houses on that road. So it's sort of a joint project now between the town side and the Board of Ed side. And Greg Dembowski. What is Greg's title, Marcia?
Economic Development Director.
Yes.
And the loan, I think the total we've got in the budget is a little less than $1 million. that we could always bond it, but the reason for the loan, a Clean Water Act loan with the state, is that it's a 2% loan, and I forgot if it's 20 or 25% that they'll forgive in a grant right away. So, and then we would charge the users, mostly you.
Right.
Well, just so you know, Caroline, the water is complete. You can't drink it. I mean, it's complete. At the middle school.
Okay. And does the high school have town water and CLES?
CLES does. The high school is on well water.
Okay.
So is that why we're providing water coolers there?
I think those are just for like offices, like the central not the central office, but the main office, and guidance wing, like the Poland Spring water jugs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's got to be a combination price, because it's not $1,900 for 5 jugs.
Correct. That's
No, I know.
That is copy paper. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just really hard to try and figure out what it is when they're all lumped in.
And so this may be off topic, but we're talking about it at the moment. So it was approved 2 capital cycles ago. I mean, is that a normal lead time in getting a project like kicked off and started, or?
Hang on, let me.
Didn't we take that, Casey?
Sure, go ahead. No,
so there was an approval of $20,000 to get it started, but that was around February of 2025, and they only do these applications once a year. And we went out to bid for an engineer, and we didn't have enough time to get an engineer to do the application. And so then the 2026, it was in the budget for the first tranche. And then there's some more in 2027 because they didn't feel as that was enough money. So the problem is it's a once-a-year application process.
To the state, you're saying, Marcia?
Yes.
Okay.
And I stand corrected. That was actually approved in the 25-26 budget cycle. So it's not it's not 2 years. It was just approved in the last budget cycle.
Okay.
But I'm assuming once that does happen, or when it happens, I mean, I know we're beholden to the state at this point, but when it does happen, we won't be having to test water anymore, correct?
After construction.
Right.
Right.
And I'll text Greg now and see if he's got any estimate of dates.
Thank you.
Okay. I had one other quick question. Since you had scanned up at the very top, the May Institute, again, more for my own education, of the services provided there.
The May Institute?
Yeah, at the very top.
Yep, that's a out of district placement.
Yeah, Caroline, Google it. It's pretty specific. So
Okay.
That's what I did when I saw it the first time. So when you read it, you'll see it.
Okay.
Why?
Got it. Okay. Now, and just reading the list here, just a general question, Casey. It looks like all the ones related to special ed, you start the description with SPED. Is that a correct assumption?
That is, I want to say 100%, but yes, that is typically how. So these all come from the descriptors that get put into Munis, attached to the invoice. So I think it's the same person that puts these recs in. So I think she is very consistent in how she labels those. But so yes, I would. I'm just doing a quick look here. Everything that
It usually is.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing that you're not seeing that's well, you are seeing that too. So sometimes if it's a service provider, you'll see. If it's an IE or something like that, sometimes it's not specific, but there's one that is specific this time. So.
Okay. Okay. Just more of a general question so I don't make that assumption incorrectly.
Yep.
Okay. Nothing more on my end.
Okay. Would you like to move on to the?
Yes, please.
Okay.
To the financial report. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So the financial report. So now as we're approaching the close to the year, I am sort of projecting out more and more accounts. You'll see that on it's now a 4-page, detailed finance report.
Mhm.
So the buckets, right? The general buckets that I'm tracking are sort of the sub accounts, the subtotals of that 4-page report. So it's the revenues, the salaries, benefits, professional services. And we're tracking a little favorably over last month by about $75,000.
Mhm.
Most of that is coming from salaries, some slight changes, realized savings in health insurance as we're coming in to land the plane, as Ken Post would always say. And overall, we're still seeing that large savings in special education out of district transportation.
Mhm.
There is, and you'll see the asterisk, there is a potential change here that we don't know yet, but it could have a budget impact on our tuition side, at least, of anywhere from $40,000 to $75,000, depending on where that settles out and when. And so that is not included in this, $450,000, budget
Yeah.
underrun that I'm projecting. So that would be reduced by that when that settles out.
So what I'm used to seeing is that labeled like a headwind. So do we have any other headwinds, that we know of right now?
None that we are aware of right now. That would be the only one.
The only one. Okay.
Mhm.
And that 40 to 75 is the annualized impact, not a monthly impact.
Correct. For this year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The remainder of the year. So from now till
Correct.
July 1st.
Yeah. The total impact for this year. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so as that, settles out, I will keep reporting on that. Salaries, again, we're seeing that savings from the interim superintendent model that we had all year, as well as savings from leaves and vacancies in our custodian and maintenance bargaining units and positions. Professional services.
Sorry, quick question there. I mean, related but slightly different. I mean, are we seeing any impacts on those vacancies, the custodian and maintenance specifically?
So there is more overtime as a result. When we do have extended vacancies at the buildings, the custodians that are there will stay overtime to, pick up the slack. And we did see additional overtime this winter because of all the snowstorms we had coming in for additional snow clearing. So yes, that's a great question. We are now, we still have one vacancy. Just when I think we're going to be full, we still have one vacancy, but we're working on that. We have some candidates in the pool that we can,
in the maintenance bucket, you're saying you have one vacancy?
Custodians. In the custodian. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, professional services, legal fees, we're still anticipating that we will be over budget there. However, I don't know, Stephen, if you want to share the news on the March invoice that we just got, but, Superintendent Freese did put some good sort of protocols in place around this area, and we did see improvement.
So, right, we've gone from, averaging around 18,000 last month to down to 6, a little less than 6 right now. So,
This is due to increased evaluations and services required to meet IEP needs. And so that, and we're managing that, as best we can within that area.
What does that mean, increased evaluations and services? So I know an increase in services, right? Services may change, right, throughout the scholastic year, right, and require more, right, for more. But what does increased evaluations mean? Like we're doing more evaluations, or?
None of these are in district, so they're out of district. They're typically, if I can speak, with mine. So if you look at testing and you're not in agreement, or there's areas that you think are lacking in the evaluation, then you go out for an IEE, which is like an independent educational evaluation. So that's done by, a third party, like a neuropsych or something like that. But that's typically what those are. But my question is, what are we doing at some of these professional services that could otherwise be handled in district, but we don't have anybody? Like, are we looking at that?
Well, and I have a different but similar question. My question was, how is this being accounted for in the 26-27 budget? Do we can assume the same gaps, or,
So there is an increase in the professional services budget for next year. Assuming that there's still going to be this increase in these like you're exactly right, Erin, they're IEEs a lot of times. And, I know our special ed director, Bill, has gone through, assuming every single bucket of need for professional services. It's also, professional services can also be, if a student needs, instruction, if the student is hospitalized, right, and needs some type versus.
I think mine is pretty, it's really tough to see, what we're spending to, Cape Pierce for dyslexia services, right? Those children obviously are entitled to services. They're getting instruction that we can't provide, but are we making any changes to move towards being able to be compliant with them?
Yeah, so that is something that, Bill, the director, and I have been looking at and talking about and working on. I can't tell you exactly if those are accounted for, how they're accounted for in next year's proposed budget. But I can tell you that as far as what we're trying to do and build in-house is enough capacity to be able to try to take some of these off the plate instead of paying $5,500 every time that these come through. So that is something that we haven't been in discussions on and trying to work on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. The other general areas, transportation, again, that's the savings from out of district transportation that we're realizing this year. The other purchase services, that's where special education out of district tuition falls. And so there is a slight shortfall there this year. And then supplies, other. The big ones here is our heating costs. It was a very cold winter, and we did exceed our contracted amount of heating oil fuel. And so we're on will call at this point. There's no more automatic deliveries. We're fortunately pretty much out of the heating season at this point, knock on wood. But we did run over our allotted contracted gallons of oil. So we did go over in that budget area. And that is the summary in a nutshell.
Casey, did we go over at both schools?
Well, it's not divvied up by school. It's just like the Board of Ed account has.
Yeah, I was just curious with all the issues that we have with the boiler at the high school, like, are we seeing, you know, is the cost higher, right? Because we don't have efficient boilers. Like, are we seeing like an increase of cost at the high school? Or are we seeing an increase of cost at Wisconsin and the high school? I mean, I would imagine probably a slight increase, but is this an increase because of the insufficiency of our heating system at the high school?
That's a great question. I don't know if I would say it's wholly attributable to the heating system at the high school. I think if the system was more efficient, we would certainly need less. The high school does take more heating fuel than Wisconsin. Just it's a larger building. But yeah, the answer is it was just a really cold long winter. And we just went through a lot of oil, unfortunately.
The same has happened on the town side.
Yeah. And salt probably too, right, Marcia?
Yeah, yes. If you're at a good breaking point, I can tell you about the application for the water line. Greg has texted back. He said 2 weeks ago, they asked a few questions about our application and we answered, and they said, we have everything they need. They said they have everything they need from us. It's under review now. I'm guessing we'll hear something within the next month or so. There's no deadline for this grant program. They're often approved on a rolling basis, subject to limits of available funding.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcia. All right. Any other questions?
No, we know what our current is on out of district transportation. Like, we're seeing, like, not transportation, out of district placement, because you said we're running short in that line item. So I was
everything that we are aware of has been encumbered thus far. And so let me see, it is in right here. Let me make this a little bigger. So it's this line right here, special education tuition. We're projecting a shortfall of about $60,000 based on the current needs. And again, that does not include that additional $40,000 to $75,000 change if that were to take place.
Yeah.
Again, we do have the $400,000 in the out of district transportation, so that should cover the shortfalls in special ed in these other areas. Any other questions?
Just on maybe under salaries, the paraprofessional salaries. So that overspend by 150 was because of the new contract rate.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, we did not have the new rates when we developed the budget last year.
Yeah.
And so it was well over what we had planned for.
And we knew that was a headwind going into that.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. And we knew that this year, because we knew we would have a realized savings from the administrative model, not backfilling the director of curriculum and instruction position, we knew that would be able to cover the shortfall in the para unit.
And that's basically what we're seeing for the teacher salaries line with that 150, correct? Right above it.
This is largely due to like leaves and vacancies.
Okay.
Yeah, teachers going out on FMLA or, things of that nature. If they don't have enough sick time to cover their leave, that leave goes unpaid. We do have, long-term subs that we typically have to pay for those types of leaves, but the savings in teacher salaries is typically enough to cover the long-term substitute cost.
Okay. I was just going to ask you that. So if someone's out not being paid, that's great, right? But like, what are we paying out, right, to have a long-term sub in there? Like, because that's what the savings would be.
The net of that, somebody being out minus somebody filling in. Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
But what it's representing in the teacher line turnover savings, or in the teacher salary, it's saying 150, but we could potentially be paying 100 for a sub.
Well, our
Just
subs,
hypothetically speaking. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
our
not-
long-term subs so far we're paying 34,000, and I believe that is fully encumbered for the year. So you would kind of net those two out, right? Any other questions?
There's been just some back and forth, I think, in email, and Erin had some questions just around the substitutes in general, right? The substitute costs. I mean, are we budgeting anything different for next year, for 2026, 2027, or?
We would like,
Sorry, go ahead.
in when you ask that question, do you mean, so a different financial amount allocated to the substitute cost?
I don't know exactly what I'm asking, but
I think, you know, what we're seeing, right? We're seeing an increase, and we've seen it, right? We see it year over year to have substitutes, whether it's short-term or long-term, right? It's always a pretty high number. So, did we increase that to the point, you know, where we might be okay next year, or are we still pretty low based on what we're spending now and what we budgeted for next year?
So we did increase the short-term substitute budget for next year up to $590,000, which is a $70,000 increase over the current year. We do typically see a minimum wage increase July 1, which affects some of our rates. And later on in the agenda, we're going to talk about that building-based sub rate, and even our daily teacher sub rate, when you compare it to surrounding districts, is quite low. And we are having trouble, filling our substitute needs as a result. So we can talk about that under new business a little bit, but we did increase the budget. The answer is yes, we did increase the budget next year for substitute costs.
And that line, that 130 substitute short term, does that include, Casey, the 5 at CLES, the 2
Yes.
Okay, so those resources are included within that line item.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. I'm good here.
Okay.
And the overall variance, I think it was at 0.82, correct, to budget?
Yes.
I saw that,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. And you can see our spending versus prior year at this point in time is a little bit slower. So we are anticipating to, have that savings at the end of the year.
Okay.
Teacher turnover is super quick because there was absolutely no changes from last month.
Okay.
So we can move on to the special ed out of district summary report. Again, I do put this asterisk here of the potential emerging need, but our overall favorability to budget for the areas of tuition, transportation, and excess cost grant revenue for special education is favorable to budget by about $334,000. Again, this does not include other professional services, which is running over. So we would anticipate that, within the special ed budget, these funds would be able to, support that overrun there. But certainly, it is well within the budget to manage those.
And speaking of just budget transfers, would the last budget transfer occur in June, the June timeframe, obviously?
Yes.
Prior to fiscal close?
Yes.
Okay. To true up?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So any questions there?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Nope.
No
Great.
questions from me either.
Okay. Thank you, Casey.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Moving on to the agenda to new business, as you referenced, discussion of building-based substitute pay rates.
Yes. So I want to pull up these comps.
So while you're doing that, Casey,
Mhm.
do we just partner with the one firm for all our substitute needs in all
We do.
three schools? Okay.
Yes. The only time we don't use them is if it's like a long-term sub position that they can't find a placement for, then we will go, and hire on our own for that.
Okay.
But everything else, yes, is
all-
through ESS. Yep.
All goes through them.
Yep.
Okay.
Casey, before we, I know we're going into the substitutes, and I know that we had this discussion prior, right? When we were talking about before the budget and about their rate to begin with. And we were also talking about the rate or the per diem rate for our SPED summer school, because we can't get them either because we pay the lowest in surrounding towns. So are we just talking about substitutes, or are we talking about everybody?
We are just talking this evening about building-based substitutes. Those substitutes from ESS that come in every day. We know who they are. And I just want to share this with you. This is the area, like the surrounding towns, what they pay their subs. The daily is the daily teacher sub that comes in, or the BBS is the building-based sub. So you can see Southbury is a little lower at 120, Newtown's at 125, and then everybody else is in the 130s to 140 range for their building-based subs. Currently, our building-based sub rate is 115 a day. And I know Stephen is prepared to speak a little bit about some of the trouble that this has been causing at the buildings and what we're proposing to do here.
So because we're at such a low rate, we're not able to fill the additional positions that we have. So that significantly impacts when staff are absent, right? So at CLES is a good example where I think we currently have 5, but we have slated 8 positions there. And we're unable to fill the other positions because our rate is so low. You see the price of gas, right? Why would you come here when you could go next door and make 140 or even 135? So at 115, we're unable to both attract or retain enough building-based substitutes, and our absence rate is much higher than that. So what does that mean? It means that we still have to cover those classrooms. So what do we do to do that? We pull all of our resources to cover those classrooms. So instead of interventionists giving intervention to students, they're covering classrooms. And instead of other resource professionals providing the services to students that they should be doing, we're partnering kiddos up and we're pulling other people to cover classrooms. So multilingual teachers, interventionists, sometimes parents, whomever we can get to do that work is doing that work. And that is on the daily. And then on certain days, it's much higher. And that inconsistent approach to instruction is not helping our most neediest learners. So we need to solve this problem. So that way the folks who we hire to do the job we hired them for can actually do it and want to remain here in Brookfield. So an increased investment here, although a financial impact somewhat to go up, is definitely a better return on our investment for the instructional expectations that we have, that our students receive when they're in their schools. Caroline.
So you said in CLES, we have budgeted for 8 building-based subs, and we currently have 5. Is that what you're saying, or did I misinterpret that?
My understanding is that we can have up to 8 at CLES.
Right.
8 full-time building-based substitutes.
Building-based subs,
meaning,
yeah.
meaning 8 people from this ESS company show up every day on site
Correct.
at CLES. Okay, just want to make sure I
Yeah.
fully understand
Yeah.
this scenario.
Right
Okay.
now we have 5. We've been short 3.
And is that, so that's not pulling the 2 from WMS and the 1 at BHS?
Correct.
No, they're
No.
separate. Yep.
Yeah,
No.
it's pulling other potential teachers in the school, like you said. The
No, I mean,
the
I
multilingual.
understand.
Yeah.
This is how we've done it for years in Brookfield. I mean, so, I mean, and we've talked about this sub rate. This isn't new. I mean, it is really low. And like I said, I would be totally fine supporting or bringing it to the board, right, to increase it. But I also think that we're setting, while I understand we need to do this to get substitutes, I also think that we're not sending a great message to, you know, our special education paraprofessionals and our teachers who, you know, have complained about their rate for summer school too, right, and not speak about that. I mean, it's also our most neediest students. So, you know, I think it's kind of a catch-22, and I think they're both going to have to get talked about at some point.
Just so I'm sure, this 125, is that per hour
Per day.
For the day,
per day?
right. So 7 hours, 6.5 half-hour lunch break.
Okay. And so the daily is additional people that we call in from ESS when we have gaps.
Correct, which we call in every day too, and we're extremely low there as well.
Okay.
So we would recommend
you-
an increase in both.
Yeah, have you guys figured out like what the financial impact would be, or where you'd want to bring it, and what the financial impact would be through June, and like what does that look like in our budget for next year?
Yeah.
Casey has tamed me, but I'll let her take care of this.
Yes. So for all the existing building-based subs that we have, based on the number of school days we have remaining, if we were to bump them up to 125, so it's a $10 a day increase because they're at 115 right now. The impact would be under $6,000 for the rest of this year. We do pay, you know, additional to ESS, right? They pay a percentage on top of that daily rate that goes to the employee. And then adding 3 additional subs. And again, I would expect that, yes, while we do bring in daily subs as well, I think having 8 full-time, you know, permanent building-based substitutes at CLES would reduce the reliance on those other like daily subs that have to come in. So I don't know exactly what that number would flesh out to be. However, for the additional 3 building-based subs at CLES for this year, we're talking about $25,000 for those additional 3 individuals. Again, that would be somewhat offset by, I think, fewer daily teacher subs coming in.
Sure.
Or even para subs coming in. But I don't know exactly what that number would look like yet.
Okay, so that's the current year impact.
Correct.
6K to bump up the rate, and then bring in 3 additional is approximately 20 to 25. Say.
Yep.
Okay, for the rest of the year. Okay. And I'm assuming we have the data to back up the need for 8 full-time building-based subs in CLES.
Absolutely. That is not the problem at all. I would even contest 10 would probably be ideal, but 8 is excellent and a great start.
So how many total classroom teachers are there in CLES?
Well, there are 50 right now, classroom teachers, 50.
50. And
But we also have para-educators and other support staff like intervention folks. But classroom teachers, we really need to make sure we get a handle on that. And having this number of folks means that we can strategically and purposefully deploy each day we know people are absent to fill our most needy and vulnerable.
So are these building substitutes used for anybody on the teaching staff that are out, not just classroom teachers? Because I was going to say, if we're saying we have 10 out a day out of a total of 50 teachers, that seems pretty high to me, but I don't know what the absentee rate is normally. Does that make sense?
It does, and they're building based and they're used for any. So the first need would go to a classroom teacher, right? Because they're building based subs, so they're the highest
priority
paid.
one. Yeah,
Exactly. Priority one is classroom teachers.
Yeah.
And then they would fill in for paras that are out as well. And there's, and just knowing, I just know that knowing that they will have at least 8 individuals showing up every day will make a big difference in the operations of that building, I believe.
Okay.
So, I mean, my question is, if we know that need is happening now, right, in April, what are we looking at next year? Like, do we have it in our budget as it's written to support 8 moving forward?
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. The cost for all building-based subs for next year, if we were to continue with the 8 at CLES, the 2 at Wisconsin, and the 1 at the high school, would be about $314,000. We have $90,000 budgeted in substitutes for next year.
Okay.
So I do believe that gives us, I mean, again, this is an estimate, right? For needs that haven't happened yet, but I do believe that would give us room to work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard area to even look at, but and beyond, right, having to increase their rate, right, to have people want to come here. Are we doing anything district-wide to look at trends, to look at absenteeism? Because, a couple of years ago, we had quite a bit of what they deemed chronic absenteeism. So I was just curious if we're looking at trends and seeing how we might be able to help that.
I was going to ask a similar question. Yeah, I mean, and because it sounds like the high school operates with just one person on staff.
The high school also sees a lot more teachers subbing for teachers because they have a block schedule. So they have a lot more substitute costs coming out of actually our payroll account because teachers are being paid $30 or $60 to cover a class. So
that
and usually there's like a pink slip on their door and the kids go to a different class. I mean, you see that. That's what happens with my son's teacher. He just goes into a different class.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Is that a similar operating model for the middle school?
The middle school uses ESS, similarly to CLES. It's just a smaller school, so the expenses aren't as high. And there is some coverage, covering teacher at all 3 buildings, but it's predominantly at the high school. Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that. That's interesting. Okay.
And the answer is we are working on, protocols for staff with high absentee rates. And so that is something we started discussing at one of our first administrative council meetings and talking about the practices and procedures around that. And an area that we have to continue to look into. I also made sure to have that conversation with, the teachers union president and just, learn from him his thinking around that and how we can work together to try to improve that where necessary. And I think there's a general agreement that we all want our staff to be in the 182 days, now 180 days a year that we have students. And that's the most important. So whatever we can do to work together to achieve that, everyone is willing to do that.
Okay, so on this one, do we need to make a motion to take the recommendation to the board? Sorry, I'm going to play the new card here. Not sure.
We would appreciate that, but that's Casey. I'll let you refer to you.
Yeah, I would bring the recommendation to the board to increase the building-based substitute rate to $125 per day. In the pay rate guidelines, just to be super clear, it is the superintendent does have, the superintendent is able to change the rate if the need, is there. But it's always good to get the, the formal approval and support of the board when making these changes. So that would be the request here. Yes.
Okay. And it's just a request for the building based and not the daily rate. Is it a request to increase the daily rate too?
Yes, Stephen, yes. I know Stephen would like to, yes.
I would. Casey, can I?
So our daily rate right now is I think it's $110.11. And I think the 11 cents is just so that we're compliant with minimum wage. So yeah, I don't know what you were hoping to bring that up to, Stephen. I'd let you make that call. Because I know we had talked about the building base being 125. So
Right. And the other up to 115.
I was going to say, I wouldn't bring it higher than 115.
No.
I mean, comparatively.
No, 115 would be great.
Okay. So should we make a motion here then to bring this recommendation to the board? Okay. I'll go ahead and give it a try. I'd like to make a motion that we bring to the next Board of Education meeting the recommended pay increases for both the daily and the building-based substitutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we'll bring this forward. I think the next meeting is May 6th, correct?
Yes.
Great.
So we'll bring that forward.
Thank you.
Okay. And any other new business? Okay. And last but not,
I'm just going to caution that I know you guys are going to hear it from your summer school staff. So I think that's going to be a conversation momentarily.
okay. So last but not least, unfinished business. So any additional discussion of the 26-27 adopted budget?
So, we had this on here in case we had any updates to share. Right now, Stephen is still working with the administrative team, building principals, everyone, to flesh out the final details of the recommended changes to meet that 3.96% budget. So I believe there'll be more to share at the special meeting that's going to happen at the end of April.
Okay. So nothing specific here this evening.
Correct.
Okay.
Not at this time.
All right. And then anything else under miscellaneous discussion for tonight?
I didn't have anything.
Nothing from I.
Okay. Erin, anything else on your end?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. I will call us to a close at 6:55 this evening.
Awesome. Thank you.
all. Have a great
Good night,
night.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great night.